Welcome back to Moose and a Loose. My name's David. In today's top stories, Justin Trudeau is at another photo op, bragging about $2 billion of investing in housing when really his housing plan is sleeping at rest stops. Also, we'll briefly touch on the travel nursing nightmare. There's military drone spending out the wazoo, and we'll start with liberal versus conservative food spending. As you can see here, the liberal minister eating lobster. And we got Jamil here eating pancakes in the basement of a church. Conservative. Justin Trudeau is on the scene in Vancouver for a housing accelerator, and I'll spare you this 44-minute video except for a couple small clips. Essentially what's going on here is you've got the mayor of Vancouver, you've got the premier of BC, and Justin Trudeau all of them in one space here. Basically, the city of Vancouver has given up some land so they can build some affordable rental housing, which will be lower than market value. If that tells you anything, like, there's a serious problem. We have to have lower than market value rentals, and people compete to get these based on how low their income is. It's just, it's so sad.
And so I'd also like to thank the Prime Minister and his team. Justin, you have been incredibly generous. And look, thanks for not giving up on Vancouver and the province. And if we have to stand, like, we'll stand in the rain. We'll stand in the snow if you give us another $3 billion. Like I tell you. No, I'm just, like, actually, I'm not kidding about standing in the snow, but this is incredibly generous.
Oh, Trudeau's, it's just so greasy. His little, like,
snow, but this is incredibly generous.
It's just like you want to get it off of you. It's just so grease bucket, just cheesy McGee. What is going on with David Eppie here? Like, he looks like he's wearing his dad's suit. It's like a child wearing his dad's suit. Come on, like, what is going on here? So later, the cheese bucket himself, Justin Trudeau, speaks, and I'll spare you the nonsense because it's more of the same crap he always spews. But just something I wanted to note here about all the young Canadians out there who are have lost their faith in ever owning a home or even renting a place that's affordable. Just listen to what Justin says here.
What you're doing here is transformative. And I am hoping that other provinces take careful note of the leadership that you've shown and the capacity to actually deliver, to keep people living in cities, keep people growing and optimistic about the future, to make sure young people can see themselves starting a family in the communities that they call home. These are the things we need right across the country.
He talks about people being enthusiastic to be put on a waiting list because you're low income for a one in whatever, multiple 100,000 chance of getting one out of these 100 or 200 homes that you can rent that is a proper market value. Like, who wants to raise a kid in downtown Vancouver? That's an absolute nightmare. People need a house with a yard, and it's mind-blowing he thinks that would even be an acceptable thing.
As a goal, as a country, we need to make sure that housing is affordable so that a middle-class salary is enough for people to live in the communities they love and where they work.
So that's where we're going with on this one. We're going to show you the affordable housing we've got here. And side note, Wilkinson, this entire thing looks like he's just smelling Trudeau's farts the entire time. He's got the...
He said that he expects the alliance members, including and specifically Canada, to spend 2% of GDP on defense. But if they're not at that level this year, they should have a date or when they will hit 2%. Your government has never articulated a date, yes or no, to when they will say when Canada will hit that 2%.
Yes or no to when Canada will hit that date. He wants a yes or no.
When we took office in 2015, we took over from
so much for yes or no
government that had underinvested in defense. Under Stephen Harper and his Conservatives,
there it is.
Defense spending in Canada actually dipped below 1% for the first time.
Stephen Harper.
And that's unacceptable. That's why, from the very beginning, we committed to increasing defense spending by 70%.
He just goes on to babble some more, but here's Wilkinson sniffing more of Trudeau's farts. He's just loving it back there. He's having a grand old time. Look at him. It's literally 44 minutes of him like, spicy Trudeau. I can't. So later the reporters ask about the housing situation, the crisis, etc. And the reason he gives for it is very interesting.
Or, and for the Prime Minister as well, have you not considered, cutting fiscal spending as a way to address inflation as well?
There are definitely people out there who say when people are hurting, when the economy is struggling for various reasons, the best thing the government should do is pull back and not support people. I just fundamentally disagree with that. That is the time when people need government to provide support. I was out in Langley the other day, and I was talking to a woman who supports vulnerable seniors, and talking about the increased risk of homelessness for seniors in British Columbia. Is now the time to stop building long-term care housing? I was at a school where kids whose parents can't afford groceries for breakfast are getting a breakfast program. Is now the time to say, well, unfortunately, we can't afford the province-wide breakfast program that we established. Kids, you're going to have to go hungry today because, global financial things.
Global financial things? That's why we're all in this mess. It's global financial things. It's not Justin Trudeau spending more money than every other prime minister combined. He spent more than all of them combined. He's brought in 2 million, his words, 2 million people coming in this past year. 2 million people. We don't even have houses for the 5 million deficit of houses. And this dingbat is bringing in 2 million more. What kind of bumbling buffoon would ever do that? Why don't we cut everything to zero, build 5 million houses, and then start looking at the immigration program? This isn't rocket surgery here, man. I don't know if this is because he's brown-nosing to his boss that's right next to him, and that's why he said that, or if he actually knows, or if he's just as stupid as Trudeau. So despite this being a housing accelerator photo op, Trudeau still manages to talk about Ukraine. He really has to squeeze out an answer. I think he squeezed out something else based on Wilkinson's face.
The Kremlin, and we need to make sure that we're continuing to be there for them. Canada will be there for Ukraine with as much as it takes, with as long as it takes, despite conservatives, politicians pulling back their support for Ukraine free trade.
How sour of a fart did Trudeau rip? Look at his face.
We know that we need to be there, and we've accepted 200,000 people from Ukraine who are right now living, contributing in...
We're not going to listen to this nonsense. So what you're about to see here is a real reporter asking Trudeau a real question, and you're going to see this smug cheese bucket smile that he's known for just get wiped right off his face.
So how did the government go so wrong with the ArriveCan app contracting and development, and do you take responsibility for those failures?
There continue to be ongoing investigations, both external and otherwise, into the contracting process. It is obvious that the contracting process rules were not followed in this case, and we need to make sure that there is accountability and transparency around that.
Next clip here, we're going to transition over to what's actually going on in Canada where people are living. Trudeau's clearly pushing out a hot one because look at what's going on here.
And today's announcement obviously is meant to help people with housing, but how does it help people desperate for housing today? How does it fix things in the short term?
We know that there have been quick supports for housing, whether it was with the Rapid Housing Initiative, whether it was with a range of other things we've done to create emergency and rapid housing. This is about building now and for the future as well. People know you can't build an apartment building in 10 days.
Actually, I'd like to correct that. In China, they actually have built a 40 or 30 story apartment tower in 10 days. Now, not the inside all done, but the entire outside shell they have. So, Justin, buddy, you're good buddies over in China there. You should know about this, right?
See the opportunity for them to be able to get into a new home, to start a family, to grow their nest eggs. These are things that we're continuing to focus on. And
dude, nobody's growing a nest egg in Canada anymore. It's not happening. People are just trying to survive. This here's actually what's going on in Canada, and it's very ironic. David Eby was saying he was in Langley in that photo op. Well, this is actually in Langley. This is a rest stop. Whenever you drive across Canada on main highways, there's rest stops. The whole purpose is to stop for a rest, usually for truckers, people doing road trips. This is turned into housing camps where people are bringing their RVs and their campers, and they're living here. This is Canada. You can see here just row after row of people living in their campers. It's unbelievable.
Among them, a couple with their young child who say they can't afford to live anywhere else.
The Cole Road rest area next to Highway 1 is jammed with dozens of RVs. Chris lives in one of them with his girlfriend and their 1-year-old boy.
I hate it. I'm embarrassed. I hate it. I don't like it. But what other option do I have?
He says affordable rentals for the 3 of them and their dog are impossible to find.
I was just looking on Craigslist today, and a 2-bedroom place is like $2,800. How am I supposed to afford that?
Overnight camping isn't allowed here, but that isn't a deterrent for those desperate for a place to stay, like Darren Heath, who's on a disability income.
It's quiet, it's peaceful, and I don't get bothered. When you live paycheck to paycheck, one small bump in the road can set you into homelessness.
It's pretty appalling that there's no overnight parking at a rest stop.
Expensive, nothing available. I looked for like 8 months before I ended up moving it out here.
We're told that people have been living at this rest stop for as long as 6 years, but also that the number of campers has increased dramatically in just the last couple of months. That could be in part because of other homeless camps shutting down.
So far, these people are a bit more peaceful than 22.
The 79-year-old Danny Holmes moved here last month after campers were forced to leave the Island 22 homeless encampment near Chilliwack. This rest area sits on provincially owned land. The province says it's aware of long-term camping and knows more affordable housing is needed. We have opened or started construction on more than 540 new affordable homes in the community since 2017.
Thank goodness there's 540 new homes. If we look at that Housing Accelerator announcement, building a couple towers, what is each tower? Like 200, 300? You add in this 540, was that 1,000? If we do a metric, the amount of people coming into Canada every 2 hours is like 500 people. It's a jumbo jet loaded to the gills, quite literally landing in Vancouver. 500 people, which means in the time it took for them to set up that photo op, a plane landed, and by the time they ended, a second plane landed. 1,000 people, which means all of the affordable housing in this announcement here and in the photo op are gone by the time the day's done. It's more than that. It's like 3 times by the day's done, all of those houses are gone. This is how bad the housing is. Like, they're not taking this serious. It has to be a 100% end to immigration, foreign buying, all of it. No more foreign students, like right down to the minimum. Really, we should only be allowing in foreign workers that we really need, and then cut everything back, build 5 million houses, and then we can open the doors again. This government is just intentionally ruining our lives. One of the other questions at this photo op was talking about the travel nurses.
So the Globe has been reporting about the high amount of money being paid to private nursing agencies by provinces across the country. Are you concerned about this escalating level of spending on private nursing agencies? And is there anything your government can and will do to address that?
Well, first of all, integral to the healthcare agreements that we've signed, we announced $200 billion in investments over the next 10 years. Part of that is by signing new health deals with various provinces. BC was the very first one to step on that.
So he just babbles a bunch here. Let me give you the real deal what's going on. So right now, nurses are paid $45 to $55 an hour, and nurses are quitting all over the place, not to mention when COVID happened. This guy came in and made a bunch of nurses go unemployed because they didn't. We all know. So now there's a huge shortage of nurses. So the Liberal government is spending crazy amounts of money paying travel nurses $85 to $100 per hour to come work at these hospitals. Now, how fair is this to nurses who are already breaking their backs and they're getting paid quite literally half as much? Now, I'm sure they appreciate having the help, but it's like help is coming in and making double. It's kind of like, yeah, that's not really cool. Really, you should just be paying the nurses more and not be banning nurses who are good at their jobs in the first place because they don't want to do some experimental thing. You get what I'm saying? And finally, we've got Bill Blair, aka Kentucky Fried Chicken, the Minister of Defense, announcing $95 million for drones for Ukraine.
To be standing next to this device and to advise you that Canada is investing over $95 million to provide Ukraine with more than 800 Skyranger R-70 drones. These are made right here in Canada. This is a multi-rotor drone. It's developed, engineered, and manufactured at Teledyne, a Canadian company in Waterloo, Ontario. I'd like to take a moment, if I may, first of all, to give a special shout out to our colleague.
Yeah, special thanks to nothing. So really the only winner in this situation is that Canadian company making those drones, because they're making $118,000, let's get the exact number, $118,750 per drone. That is outrageously expensive. Now, I don't think you can really see it, but behind me, right up there, I have 3 drones. I'm actually one of the most experienced wilderness drone pilots in the world. I get that these drones have special fancy LiDAR and whatever, but it's like, really, the price of what used to be the cost of a house in a small town for a drone? I'm sure these things could be made for like 10 grand. It's like, obviously this one company is just making hand over fist with this deal, which is absolutely ridiculous. That's where we're going to leave today's episode. It's just heartbreaking to see all those people living in RVs at a rest stop. I personally have done road trips across America all the way to Alabama and back 2 years ago, and last year I went through the Canadian Rockies and Jasper and all that stuff. I do that by choice. I sleep in my Honda CRV at rest stops. I know exactly what that's like. I do that because I go out to hike mountains by choice. To do that, being forced, a family of 3, having a little kid and like setting up, you're on the side of the highway. It's not a good place for a kid. That's not a good place, period. Rest stops are by nature beside highways. They're just not nice places to be. It's only a matter of time before the government comes in and kicks them people out. Just like they did at Edmonton. They burned all the people's tents and took down their tent city. It's disgraceful. The government is not for the people. They need to remember that they work for us. You get money from us to have your job and to live and work. It's not the other way around. Just like, think about that, government. You work for us, the taxpayers. We're gonna have to suffer this out one day at a time until the shiny pony is out of office.
He's wearing liberal red, of course. I call him the shiny pony. Taking it in the face. Come on, shiny pony.
All we can do is stay positive and keep making fun of Justin Trudeau, because clearly the narcissist doesn't like it. So hopefully you guys stay warm, stay fed. I'll see you guys in the next one.